If you're one of those people that happen to skip over anime openings, or you just happen to skip over this opening for Boku Dake / Erase, then I advise you right now to go re-watch that opening or watch that opening, because it is very, very significant. With that being said, I will be having some major spoilers in this review of Boku Dake episode 11. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, if you're out and you don't want no spoilers, for the rest of y'all, let me say this episode was very unexpected. I did not expect this episode at all. It was a shock to me. Like, I'm usually good at predicting things. Like last episode when I said I predicted who the killer was, it was the teacher, Yoshiro. I did not foresee this type of episode occurring for episode 11 at all. I did not foresee this type of episode coming. Now, for the sake that I do want to cover a lot of different things, I do have a list with me, a paper list with me that have some topics on this. I might be looking at it, so don't think that I'm like trying to write down some hints, but I am, because I want to cover a whole bunch of different things. So first of all, that opening, when I first watched it, I thought that I was seeing things. I was wondering why Satoru wasn't inside the opening. I was like, if like 5 seconds into the opening, I was wondering why he wasn't there. It's a phenomenal opening. I love the opening for Boku Dake, probably best opening of this season. And throughout the whole opening, Satoru, like as his person, like his character inside the opening wasn't there. It was like he was erased. And when I noticed that, I was like, the title is called Erased. Boku Dake is called Erased. It's erased. So it's like he was erased, literally, from the opening of this series. I'm like, that is some hardcore, deep symbolism type shit right there. He was erased from his own series, the opening. Nowhere, his child form, his human, not his adult form, he was not there. He was not there. So like, last time I said that he probably was going to, like, he was inside the water, he was drowning and everything, that he probably going to have another revival or somebody was going to save him. It happens to be a different situation. So this opening, I mean, the episode gives us a brief glimpse into the psyche, the mental attitude of Yoshiro, right? Yoshiro's psyche, we see that from a young age, since he was in, I think he said 6th grade, from a young age, he has been psychotic. He has been crazy. He has been having mental issues. You had one of his friends who had these hamsters or guinea pigs, whoever it was. I'm gonna say hamsters, and they breeded. And he had like 7 or 8 hamsters. And his friend was like, came to him like, "Can you take care of them? I can't take care of all these hamsters." He's like, "Sure, I'll take care of them." And what he did with the hamsters was something a psychopathic serial killer would do. He tortured and harmed the guinea pigs. So we all know that signs of being a psychopathic serial killer from a young age is you torturing animals. So he took these guinea pigs and drowned them inside a bottle. He took these guinea pigs and drowned them. And that right there gives us a glimpse of that he is, from a young age, he was psychotic, he was crazy, that he drowned these hamsters. But we see that one of these hamsters survived. So he had an interest of this hamster that survived, made him want to basically, like, he take this hamster as his own pet. He named it Spice. You know, he compared this hamster to Satoru, right? And he was like, okay, this hamster was like this, it compared me to this folktale novel in which this guy, he saved the spider, and from the heavens a single spider thread came down, and while he was climbing up the spider thread, he kicked down all the sinners that was in hell. And because of that, the spider net thread snapped, and he fell back down to hell. He was like, that reminded me of you, Satoru. You kept interfering with my plans. And then it takes us to basically the present day, which is 15 years later. So we find that the mother, this whole time, is just like lonely in the job. She looks really sad. She's like in her own world, her own, like, the impact of Satoru and his situation, like, impacted her greatly. But then we find out that Satoru is alive. Gladly, he is alive, but he is in a coma. He's been in a coma for 15 years, what makes him 26, I believe. He was 11, this makes him 26. He's been in a coma for 15 years, and this whole time his mother was taking care of him, watching him like exercising his muscles and everything that. So 15 years later, he wakes up from the coma, from this long 15-year coma, and he has amnesia. He has retrograde amnesia. I think that's retrograde amnesia, where he can't remember the things in the past. Retrograde amnesia. It's two different types of amnesia. Retrograde and I think it's intrograde. Retrograde amnesia. He has lost memories, and because of that, the doctors and everything was like, okay, can you remember everything? You've been in the coma for 15 years. There was a situation. And the mother was like giving him exercises, like using his bending his muscles and everything like that, so he'd be flexible, so he can move around and not be like inside a comatose vegetable type state. And then after some things calm down, we see Kenya and Hiromi. Kenya is a lawyer now. 15 years later, Kenya is a lawyer. And Hiromi is a doctor. Yes, Hiromi is a guy. If you didn't figure out, he is a guy. He is a male doctor. And then something surprising happened, and the mother told him not to mention anything, to keep things a little secret. And we find out Kaio comes back to visit. She comes back to visit Soteru in the hospital after he wakes up from this 15-year coma. And what's in her hands, you may ask, or you have seen? It's a baby. Kaio got married and had a baby, and none other than Hiromi himself. Sadly, it wasn't Kenya, and sadly, it wasn't Soteru, because he wasn't in his coma, so it was basically virtually impossible, unless like some craziest type stuff happened. But sadly, Kaio and Soteru didn't have a child and get married together when they grow up, which saddens my heart, because I know there's a lot of people out there that ships Kaio and Soteru when they was older. They was like, maybe they'll meet when they're older and get back together. Sadly, that's not the case. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people did not predict that. I did not predict that at all. And that just made me really sad. And inside this episode also, we see this new girl being introduced. Now, I'm pretty sure she has cancer, because she's having the surgery. She has an operation, and she was like, her sister is giving her some of her bone marrow, and that's like surgery for cancer or some type of thing. She had like this little hat on that covers her head, so most likely she wears it because she's bald. She has some chemotherapy, some radiation therapy. I just did a whole research paper on cancer, so this is something that I'm really interested in looking at, because I just did a whole research paper for my college class about cancer. And two different types of cancer. So most likely she has cancer. If she doesn't have cancer, she has some type of other critical terminal illness. And Soteru, he notices her, and he wants to go to rehab. And this type of rehab is so he can walk again. So he can walk and talk and everything like that. He can talk once he came up from his unconscious. He knows some words that he probably doesn't remember. He knows these words. He knows the characteristics. And we know the reason why. We know the reason why he knows these words, because his psyche, like when he had a revival, he had the last revival, when he went back in time, like his conscience went back in time to the kid self, stayed there. I'm pretty sure it stayed there, but he doesn't remember that. He doesn't remember having this revival. He doesn't remember that he had all these different situations. He doesn't remember. But I'm pretty sure he knows these words because, like, he was like, when did I remember these words? I was in 5th grade when I went into this coma. They told him that. He was in 5th grade when he was in this coma. He remembered these words from when he was older, when he was like 28 or 29. So not much different, like 2 years from now when he is now, but from that revival, and went to his body, and he's back again. What I found very, very interesting. But he sees this new girl, and he notices her, and he wants to be brave for her. He wants to do this rehab. He wants to he's like tough it out. He was like, I want to go outside and see the world as quickly as possible. I want to walk again. I want to walk outside in this new world. Nobody knows about the situation. Nobody knows what happens. I'm pretty sure Kenya knows what happens, and this reporter guy we know this reporter guy who used to work with Soteru's mom. We know her. We know him. And I'm pretty sure they know about the situation, and they want to ask Soteru who the killer was and who did this to him. But it was like, we're gonna let it settle down for a second. He just woke up from unconscious. We can't be impatient. We're gonna let this settle down. Now, to get on it, one of the biggest parts about this episode is that Yoshiro appears once again. Yoshiro appears once again. But this time he has the look and the facial features of the guy from the future, or 28 years ago. Hence the title of this episode, Future. 15 years in the future, after all these crazy events happen to Satoru, Yashiro appears once again. That fucking bastard appears once again. And this time, he's at this hospital because he is connected to Kumi, the girl with the cancer. Or I'm gonna say she has cancer. The girl with the terminal illness, Kumi. He met Kumi, and he was there with Kumi. Now I think he used this as a leeway to get close to Satoru. He uses the leeway to get close to Satoru, so he knows when he's come out his comatose state. When he's out of his coma, then he would know that Satoru is out of his coma. And I found this just very, very interesting. I was like, this fucking bitch is here again. This nigga is here again. Like, why is he here again, messing up Satoru's plans? Not his plans, but because Satoru was in a coma. But like, he's here. He's still trying to be after Satoru. So what this bitch does, what this hardcore person does, what this Yoshiro does, is that he pretends that he knows Satoru doesn't have his memories. He knows that. He knows that his memories are gone. And he was like, okay, I am Satoru. I got my name changed. I used to be a 5th grade teacher. He knows. And he was like, okay, Satoru, I want to talk to you. And what happens is he goes to the hospital. He goes in the hospital. He's like, okay, let's go somewhere where there's no reporters. Because there are reporters after Satoru because he was in the coma for 15 years. They was like, oh, you're in a coma for 15 years? That's crazy for being in a coma for 15 years. I mean, people in real life have been in a coma for 15 years. But 15 years is a long time being in a coma, and they're reporters and like paparazzi, not really paparazzi, but reporters trying to get a little bit of negatively highlight Satoru coming out of his coma. So he was like, let's get away from these reporters. Let's go to the roof of the hospital, which is off access, by the way. Nobody will be here at all. Nobody. So he takes Satoru inside his wheelchair because he can't really walk that far and that well to the hospital roof, and he was like. He was just giving him a crazy smile. The crazy smile that he had, people just gave him that crazy smile. And at the end of it, we see Satoru says, I have regained my memories. Because when he was in the hospital, when he was in the elevator, I know what triggered his memories. When he was in the elevator, all you hear is you know when Yashiro gets anxious and he gets like unsteady, he taps. He taps on something. When he was in the car, he was tapping on the stairwell. When he was inside the rooftop in the elevator, he was tapping on the wheelchair. And that tapping unlocked the memories in Satoru's mind. That tapping that Yoshiro did unlocked the memories in Yoshiro's mind. So his memories came back because of that tapping. That was the stimulus that Satoru needed to remember all his memories. And he was like, Yoshiro, I remember. I have all my memories back and I know. He looked at him. And then before the episode ends, you see this little string. I thought it was like something like a wire and Yoshiro was going to use it to kill Satoru. When most likely he's going to try to kill Satoru or something like that. Push him off the roof or something like that. But it was the spider web. I'm pretty sure it was significant of the spider web, the spider thread that Yoshiro talked about in the beginning of the episode. And that spider web was his connections, his plans, his things he needed. But because he had Satoru was the center was going to interfere and it was going to break that spider web. So there are so many symbolisms and so many meaning behind this episode that I'm starting to think that Erase is one of my favorite series. It's not top 10, maybe not top 20, but maybe it could be top 20. But this episode alone, like all the other episodes were great. It got deeper and deeper every episode. But I feel like this episode signified the psychological aspect, the mysterious aspect of Erased for me. Boku Dake itself, Erased. This episode signified because I did not, like, I am someone who predicts. I am the one who analyzes. I'm one who loves psychological aspects of everything. I want to be a neuroscientist. I've studied medicine, psychology. I'm in pre-med track in college. And just seeing this psychological things happen in Erased, I love it. And this episode, the impact, the way the world in the future that was just so significant. Like, Hiromi's and Kaido's child was named Mirai. Now, I knew that means future because Mirai and Nikki, aka Future Diaries, Mirai means future. The episode was the future. So what is the future